Good morning, everyone. Let us start our class. Today, we are going to talk about the Deaf Olympics. This is a game specially made for the deaf persons. Few checkpoints are here which we can read and learn about the Deaf Olympics. Previously called World Games for the Deaf and International Games for the Deaf. These are International Olympic Committee sanctioned event at which deaf athletes compete at an elite level. The International Committee of Sports for the Deaf ICSD is the main governing body responsible for the organizing of Deaf Olympics and other world championships. The Deaf Olympics are held every 4 years and is the longest running multi-sports event excluding the Olympic themselves. The first games were held in Paris in 1924. Were also the first ever international sporting event for athletes with disabilities was conducted. The event has been held every 4 years since, apart from a break for the World War II and an additional event. The Deaf Olympics Winter Games was added in 1949. To qualify for the games, athlete must have a hearing loss of at least 55 dB in their better ear. Originally, the games were called the International Games for the Deaf from 1924 to 1965, but were sometimes also referred to as the International Games for the Deaf from 1966 to 1999. They were called the World Games for the Deaf, occasionally referred to as the World Silent Games. From 2001, the Games have been known by their current name, Deaf Olympics. The special thing for this Deaf Olympics or the Games is that the referee always uses flag light to guide the deaf players instead of the sound. Here you can see how the persons are collaborating with each other. What we can learn through this? This is a concept of inclusion. Inclusion defines itself as including the normal human being or player with the special need persons, or you can say that child with special need. Here in these photographs you can see these players are, this child is in normal condition, but some kind of disability is there with them. So what is actually happening? It is the inclusion of the normal player with the child with special needs. What is inclusion? Inclusive education is defined as a learning environment that promotes the full personal, academic, and professional development of all learners, irrespective of race, class, color, gender, disability, sexual preference, learning style, and language. Inclusive education is more than mainstreaming. Mainstreaming says that a student from a separate special education class visits the regular classrooms from a specific, usually non academic subjects. Inclusion is an educational process by which all students, including those with disabilities, are educated together for all. So, in these photographs, I want to tell you that how a normal player is inclusive with the child with special needs. Meaning of inclusive education also define itself that inclusion is a philosophy of education based on the belief that every person has the inherent right to fully participate in society, its activity, and social structure of the whole world. Inclusion implies acceptance of differences. It makes room from the persons who would otherwise be excluded from the educational experiences that are fundamental to every student's development. Its term inclusion is an international buzzword in education, and Indian education has no exception. As we know that everywhere the human beings are being treated equally, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it may also be seen as a continuing process of breaking down barriers to learning and participation for all children and young people. The objectives of inclusive education is to facilitate access of disabled students from rural and remote areas, to emphasize job teaching and job oriented vocational training, to promote an understanding of the paradigm shift from charity to development. So, here we can talk about the need and its objectives. Many children with special needs or disabilities may not yet have developed the self care abilities that other children have at the same age. That is often the main reason for referring them to a special classroom where they can learn these basic skills to prepare for school. Professionals may find that a special classroom is the best accommodation for the child. It is true that if a child needs special services, it can be provided to him individually. But it is also true that he has a significant need for inclusion in an mainstream classroom in order to be challenged to learn, copy, and respect, but especially to feel a part of this world that belongs to all of us. Students learn social skill in a natural way and develop self esteem where they feel accepted and included, teaching peers, classmates, and teachers to celebrate diversity and different abilities. Inclusion is not only expecting others to accept and integrate our child, but accepting the responsibilities that come with challenges. So, here its implementation is very important that a normal child must be included or inclusive with the children with special needs. The right to education must apply to all citizens of India, state and central governments, as well as all the other special agencies should recognize the importance of a broadened concept of inclusive education that addresses the diverse need of all learnings. So finally we must conclude this topic that right of education ensure education to all children irrespective of their caste, religion, creed, etc. It is essential to build an individual in an inclusive society through an individual approach. In doing so, we have challenged commonly held beliefs and developed a new set of core assumptions. Inclusion is a more than a method of education students with disabilities. It stresses that every child, regardless of the intensity and severity of his disabilities, is a valued member of the society and capable of participating in it. A good inclusive education is one that allows all the students to participate in all aspects of classroom equally. So here through this explanation what we can learn that right to education does not say that a child with a special need must sit in a separate classroom. Instead of that, the child with a special need must be given the equal quality to be the part of the normal classroom structure. And that is a new concept of inclusive education. Here, with this inclusive education, we can inculcate the skills that are very important for each and every child in our daily to daily life, and only through this inclusive education we can mainstream the child with a special need with a normal society or the social structure. So you will go through the books, you will complete all the questionnaires related with this topic. We will meet very soon. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.